All right, so we have Logan Paul's co-host, George, talking about the walkout from last week. If you're not familiar with that, I made a video about it, so make sure you check that out. But Bobby Lee was on their podcast last week, and he kept roasting George, and George wasn't really giving it back at all, and he just seemed kind of annoyed by it. And then at the end, Logan mentioned that he thought George checked out because he was just being quiet and wasn't saying much anymore, so George ended up walking off.
He is clocked out.
Yeah,
I know.
George has been under a tremendous amount of abuse.
No,
No, stop, George. I want you over here with me. George, I want you over here with me. Chase him down. Go. You find him. George, no, go get him. Go get him.
So most people thought that George was being too sensitive about this because he claims to be a comedian. Bobby's a comedian. They're just goofing around. And this is the kind of thing that Bobby does on podcasts. And even early on in this one, Bobby is talking about how when he's making fun of somebody, it's a way to bond with them and it's more of a friendly thing. And it's just what comedians do. So I think George, he was getting annoyed by the roasting, but also he wasn't thinking of any good comebacks and he wasn't able to give it back to Bobby. So I think that's also what was getting to him. It seemed like every interaction they had, Bobby would just get the best of him. Like when George gave this serious speech about depression, and at the end of it, Bobby's like, yeah, that was too long. Can we have some people edit that up and maybe we could have some writers or something? And George is like, sorry, I don't use writers when I'm doing my comedy. And Bobby's like, well, maybe you should.
Yeah, we just need writers to edit that down. Like if we had a staff of writers, they'd be like, yeah, we'll cut that. But
I'm sorry.
Essentially, it was a really good monologue.
Usually when I do my comedy, I don't have writers in the room. I actually write my own stuff.
Okay, I can tell.
Like
Maybe you should get a writer. But my point is...
Like when Bobby went on Andrew Schultz's podcast a few months ago, he kept going after Akash. And if I remember correctly, I think Akash gave it right back to him and is doing pretty well hanging in there with him. But on this podcast, George was just not able to do that. But in his defense, it seems like a lot of comedians are thin-skinned. You know, you hear them talk about how people should be able to handle jokes and people are too sensitive nowadays. But in reality, they're not the best at handling criticism either. So let's get into the video here. Let's see what George had to say about this.
And because, dude, it caused drama. There were so many people that were talking about this. Like a lot of comedians called me personally and talked about it. Mm-hmm. A lot of close friends called me about it. I just didn't know how to address it, and so this is the best way that I could put it. I can't ever tell the people around me how to act and how to be and how to treat me, how to do this type of situation. And I've learned that accountability is the fastest way for growth. And it's so hard. And it's really hard to make a mistake in front of people too, let alone the whole internet. I love Bobby Lee. I think he was fantastic. I thought he was fun. I got butthurt and it was something that I got to take accountability for. Like I get a little emotional and I'm not too mad at it because my emotions are what make who I am.
For sure.
And I'm really proud of who I am.
Yeah, so it's about what you expect from this guy. He's talking about his emotions and accountability and all this stuff. It's like he was canceled or something. Also, I wonder who these comedians are that reached out to George afterwards. I wonder if Brendan Schaub was one of them. Maybe he's looking to team up with George to start going after Bobby again. That'd be hilarious. So I also thought it was weird that George didn't mention if he apologized to Bobby at all, or if him and Bobby talked since this. I don't know, maybe he said it later on in this podcast and I missed it, but I'm not sure if him and Bobby have talked since that podcast at all. You know, I doubt Bobby really cares that much. I think the only reason he is roasting George is because the Island Boys paid him to. They wanted to get revenge because George made them walk off when they were on Impulsive.
Like, oh, look, he's checked out, then I'm checking out and I'm just out. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. And it was definitely a learning curve to like just not be a pussy.
Well, made for great programming. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was a good program. Maybe too good. A lot of people thought it was fake. A lot of people thought that it was set up and it was too good to be true and the walkout had to be staged. But this is legit. I think people are giving him too much credit, thinking that they could pull off something like this. But if you don't think that Bobby Lee was paid by the Island Boys to make fun of George to try to get him to walk off, you clearly haven't looked into it enough.
But I do want to apologize to both of you guys. Because how I acted was unprofessional. And like you guys gave me a sick platform.
I'll allow it. It's kind of like just what builds on your teeth.
lens of entertainment. I didn't know you were gonna like order an Uber and leave the entire.
In my defense, you guys should know that when I do something, I just do it.
You commit.
I commit.
You
I don't
do
go.
Wow, so he really took off. He didn't just walk off the set. He got a ride and got the hell out of there. So it doesn't sound like he talked to Bobby after this at all. Like maybe they DM'd or something, but he didn't stick around to like apologize or something. And he must have been really pissed off if he just got a ride out of there. Like that's some serious shit. The Island Boys are gonna be really happy about this.
Like I just don't. I'll just do what I do. But also, guys, I gotta say I'm pretty excited. My biggest fear was to get hated on and like do something that the world's like, yo, f this guy, and I did. And like low key, this is kind of bad. I loved it.
Why?
I loved.
Oh,
pissing
you're having
people
your
off,
Jake
bro.
Paul moment.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I love that people were just commenting and getting so steamed. I was wrong, and I'll apologize for my mistakes, but I can't apologize the fact that like when I'm watching these kids comment what they're commenting, in my mind I'm like, ooh, I'm in your head.
Oh, no.
Head.
You got
You're
a
a heel.
Wait, was that
Heel
the villain?
Georgie.
Is that the villain or?
All right, that got a little creepy there. Sorry you had to witness that. But I don't know if he's just coping with this or he just really enjoys the attention and getting into kids' heads or whatever he's saying. Maybe he should walk off more often because it sounds like he really enjoys the attention from it. I'm pretty sure Logan said he's going on the Tiger Belly podcast next week, so maybe George could tag along with him and maybe he could try to roast Bobby back because there's plenty of material out there. Just watch any video about Kalila or about Bobby's trip down to Tijuana. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if he wants to go that far. That could get ugly. But George really did have a good opportunity there. There's plenty of stuff you could roast Bobby for. Maybe he's just not that aware of it. Maybe he hasn't kept up on all the drama, but he really should. So, George, if you're watching this video, make sure you check out some of my other videos. And I guess that's it. Make sure you subscribe to my program here. It's a good one. Then leave me a comment, hit the like button, and I'll catch you at the next video.